All right. So I'm Diane Hillary, and I'm here with my dear friend Amber Martin Smith. And we wanted to talk a little bit about spiritual awakening and authenticity. And Amber and I met in such a beautiful, synchronistic way in 2016. So I will let you first tell a little bit more about yourself, Amber.
Yeah, I'm a therapist. I knew I wanted to be a therapist at like 12, and I've been on a very long, windy journey over the course of that time. I have two baby girls. I just went through a divorce that was finalized last summer, and it feels like so much of my awakening was about freedom and shedding off all of these like conditionings and beliefs that I've carried. And so I just have a real passion for highlighting that, talking about that, sharing that, and helping other people kind of find that freedom as well. So, what feels really interesting though is Diane and I met right when I was going through another like pretty big transition, and I was working marketing and doing very part-time therapy, and I knew I wanted more freedom, and so I wanted a private practice at that time so I could transition to my own schedule and charging my own rates. And I, I feel like some of the most important people in my life, I'm like, I'm not even sure how that connection happened or when or why. We were on a board together and
Yeah.
we had a connection, but it was just like you were like, come, there's an open office in my office suite. Like, come, I will give you all my documents. I will help you with this. And I was like, okay. So that's like my remembering of it. Do you remember any more specifics about us connecting?
No, I feel like I have a picture of us like having a conversation and me saying like, I have this opening, come and join me. And you were like, I'm not sure. But then you decided to come, which I have a lot of like, come on, let's do this together. And most people are like, no, thanks. And you were like, sure, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Um, and then right after that, I think was like the seed of the beginning of my spiritual awakening. It was 10 years ago exactly, because that was 2016. And
Wow.
and
That
so I
shit.
had this experience. I was sitting in a therapy session with a client and I just lost my words. And it was really scary at the time. And I think that was it, like I had some similar sensations to that later when I really felt the beginning of my spiritual awakening in 2020. Um, and so then I ended up taking like a month or 6 weeks off of work and I referred a ton of clients to you. So it was like I decided not to see teens anymore after that. And my kids were um, at kind of a critical age and I wanted to be, less overwhelmed with so many clients. And so I took off that month I called it I think I was called it my crack up, but then I turned it into like my cracking open, my breaking open to slowing down and being more present with, what really felt aligned with me. And I remember that we were going to a conference together related to the board that we were on. And I was having so much anxiety with like taking all that time off of work and figuring out, what I was going through. And I remember on that drive, you were telling me about what a soul contract is, and I think in a different conversation you told me about that you'd done a past life regression, and I was like, this is a little bit weird. I'm not sure about this stuff, but it was such a seed planted and such a sign of like you being your authentic self and how that really planted a seed and allowed me to remember that those, having a soul contract with you and exploring past life regressions has been so fun and brought so much aliveness for me. So, thank you for being you and for honoring that soul contract.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting. And not all soul contracts are this way, but kind of the yin and yang of it. And at that point, Diane, you were so um very grounded. You had all your documents in order. You were a DBT therapist, which is very like skill based. Like you could not have been more. I mean, I know you were a mom to kids and life pulled you in a million directions, but you were like I got this on lockdown. Here's the plan. Here's what we do. And I've always kind of lived my life a little bit in the ethers. I'm like a yes girl. I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll go here. Okay, we'll go here. And I've always kind of been drawn to that like spiritual exploration of like, yeah, we'll try anything. I can believe in anything. Let's try it on. Let's see how I feel. And so it's interesting because in that point in my life, I was needing more grounding. I was needing like more of that like structure and support. And you had so much of that. And so you literally gifted me a practice. And that was like such an important piece for me in like finding more financial stability or grounding or like hitting the ground running. And I like to think that our interactions, I like was expanding some like openness to like, she's a little weirdo, but that seems interesting,
Yeah.
right? Like maybe that's possible. I like her and she's doing all this, like maybe. Um,
Hmm.
but it's been so cool seeing your journey, like so cool from like who you were 10 years ago. And I remember like we would do like some meditations and you're like, I can't see it. Like it would be like your head would go like, I cannot get out of the analytical.
Yeah.
Um, and where you are now, do you want to share anything about that? Because that is a huge like internal transformation.
Yeah, what's coming up for me as you're talking is I'm a Pisces. I'm a Pisces, Scorpio Pisces, so I'm all water, very flowy, but that's how I was for most of my life, was like pretty rigid, and because I had like underlying anxiety, pretty like controlled and grounded, and like, what are the rules? Just tell me what the rules are and I will, create structure that aligns with that. And so it is like, I think that you talked about freedom, and that has been a huge part for me too, is sort of peeling back all of those layers of all the ways I was out of alignment with my true nature, which is actually like this strong connection with nature and with spirituality and with all of this, these expansive, like consciousness expanding experiences. And I was just this like rule following, research based, like let me cross my t's and dot my i's. And so thank you for helping me expand. And I think that my spiritual journey has brought so much delight, like so much more joy. And the other thing that's coming up there is, and we've talked about this a lot, as a kid I was very like Eeyore was my archetype. And like when Inside Out came out, it was like, sadness from inside out. And so it is like a part of, you were mentioning like freedom, and a part of it for me is also like entering into so much more joy and delight, which is particularly challenging like through COVID and through, everything the world has been going through the past few years. But I think that, that is still something that we deserve, and that is our birthright, is that finding that joy and delight and that awe. And to me, that's why I'm wanting to be much more authentic about my spiritual journey now, is because it's magic, like it really fills me up and brings me alive. And so even if I might now be the one that people in my life are like, that's a little weird, I really want to be authentic about it.
So first, I am just every time you tell me your big three in astrology, I'm like, oh my God. like like double Pisces and Scorpio moon, it's like, oh, that could not be any more like watery depths, emotional, right? And like
Mhm.
it just brings me so much joy, you being like, this is who I am, and who I am has challenges in this very like 3D world that requires paying the bills and orderly and
Yeah.
like all of those things. And so how much your early life was probably overcompensating, and not feeling safe and trying to like live by these rules, and how much energy and exhaustion it was to override who you came here to be. um,
Yes.
so it's incredible seeing that. And then the other thing I was thinking is when you were talking about, finding joy, one of the ways you've inspired me so much and I love is like just your openness to synchronicities and wandering around and being like, look at those clouds, look at this tree, right? And like just
Mhm.
heart wide open to the idea that the divine or God, spirit speaks through every moment potentially. Um,
Hmm.
and you gave me a task of like letting spirit be my DJ. It's one of my favorites of like asking for a song,
Hmm.
but I was curious about, I know during the pandemic, like that was like a really big like cracking open moment where you
Yeah.
were kind of saying that you lost your voice.
Hmm.
And my memory is synchronicities got you through
Yeah.
that. Is there anything you want to share around that piece?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I think I probably had that like first cracking open in 2016, but I didn't connect it spiritually at the time. I was like reading spiritual books to try to help me make sense of like some traumas that were arising and why they were coming up at that time. Um, and but then in 2020, we ended up moving to Tybee Island, off the coast of Savannah, because of just needing extra space. And so we went there to stay with family. And I was taking walks with the beaches were closed, and we were staying in a beachfront condo. So we were just watching the most beautiful sunsets every evening. And I think that awe was really an entry point, that awe in nature, an entry point into a deeper spiritual connection. And so, yeah, I would see messages in the clouds, and I would take walks and pick up, leaves and make art with them. And it was very different from my like DBT, what are the rules? Um, and one of the fun experiences I had was there was a day where the power went out on the whole island of Tybee, and I was doing virtual therapy because it was the pandemic. And so I thought, like, well, I guess I have to cancel all my clients. And so once I canceled them all, the power came back on. Like we had gotten word because it's a small island, like it's going to be off for the whole day because something blew. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll do this. And then once I canceled them all, the power came back on. And so because I was like all about synchronicities, I was like, okay, I guess like the universe wants me to have a day off. And so I took our dog, our sweet Noko white husky, for a walk, and and I happened to run into another woman who was walking a white husky. And this is again like a small island. I walked there all the time. I had never seen her or any other white husky. So also totally out of character with me, I walked over and was like, "Hey, look, we have matching pups," and just started chatting with her. And she had a shirt on that said, "Follow your journey." And I was in this like everything's magic. And so I said, I love your shirt. And somehow we got to talking, and turns out she was a therapist who had also had a pretty abrupt spiritual awakening like I was having at the time. And I really don't know how we got on this conversation, but she was like, "Oh, it sounds like you're having a Kundalini awakening." And I had never heard that term. And she was explaining to me like the about energy and vibration. And so I went home and Googled it, and it just gave me so much context for what was happening for me. And that was one of those magical things that was like the universe, met me where I was. Like I was thinking like, I think I'm manic. Like maybe I'm, having a manic episode because I was having like that pressured speech and that intensity of thought and all these signs and synchronicities. And so to be able to have a conversation with another therapist who was like, let me give you some more information about what might be happening, was really powerful for me.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point. Like in the therapy world, I'm sit with clients and sometimes I'm like, is this something that needs to be medicated or are you having an awakening, right? Like
Yeah.
when you go through these experiences that like break you open and make you see the world in a completely different way, like it's really interesting how therapeutically or mental health wise we label it as this. And I do wonder sometimes if it's really people just going through awakenings.
Yeah. Yeah, and even like with delusions, like it's so I was just thinking I recently took a trip to Egypt as a part of my spiritual journey, and I'm looking for new archetypes, no longer Eeyore and sadness. So I've got my Isis necklace on today. It's backwards. But she's an important Egyptian goddess. That's an archetype that I'm working with now. And when I was there, speaking another goddess is Sekhmet, and she's very fiery and kind of brings out like a fierceness. And so we did a ceremony where we were interacting with the archetype or the energy of Sekhmet. And the message that she gave me was, you'll find the truth inside of you. And since I've been back, I keep thinking about, like, I keep seeing stories that are like, oh, this internet video of dogs on a journey that everyone's been interacting with, turns out it's fake. Oh, this, media story, da 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 da. And so it's very hard to know what's real. And I keep going back to, like, we're in this time of moving from logic and reason and like only valuing what our head tells us, or what, that sort of like more masculine energy, not male and female, but like the masculine, like, way of knowing, and moving into this heart-based way of feeling our way through the world and way of knowing. And so it I'm totally losing my thread now, Amber, because I just got off. Tell me what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we were talking about like the mental health field and
Oh yeah.
labeling things as, you know, mental health conditions when it could just be a way of viewing the world.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, so the thing that I keep coming back to with that is, as a therapist in the past, I was teaching, like, this is the right way to have boundaries. This is like assertive communication. This is, like what you need to do here. And obviously with so much compassion and so much respect for people's like cultural values and their um but I still feel, I probably leaned more to the side of like so much respect for people's journey and where they were. But um I also am realizing now, like, if our feelings are the truth of our experience, they're meant to guide us. Like this heart, based information is how we're meant to navigate the world. Then somebody's like journey that they came here to experience might be something that doesn't feel right for me, or that feels unhealthy. And so I've really focused my work more on, like, what is their inner thread? What are their breadcrumbs? What did they like? What's their inner knowing that they want to follow for themselves?
yeah. And walking that fine line if it feels like they are in danger, right? Like that's
Of
the
course, yeah.
point. But like otherwise it's like, okay, I trust you. I
Mhm.
trust you. I trust your intuition. I trust that as long as we keep pointing back to you, um, again, not in danger, but everything else, it's like, you got this.
Mhm.
Uh, because who am I to know what your path is, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I could download, I could tap into, I can give information, but like, I really think all of us have such individualized, unique paths. And we only know when we go inside. And those may be moments where the entire world feels like an illusion,
Mm.
or you lose words, and for someone to pathologize that or to put medication there, or it may completely take you off your path versus just
Yeah.
being like, okay, I'm going to just keep moving through this. And what's on the other side is a truer version of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, granted, I did use medication to get through that time.
And that's okay, right?
Yeah, what
Like,
right, and I wanted to say that because, like, for me, it was really important to, like, I was consulting with my therapist friends and with my therapist and with my psychiatrist, and I was also really following that, like, this feels like a spiritual awakening. That's what my experience is telling me this is. And there are pieces of it, like, after I had this summer of like all these, huge insights and awarenesses, and sort of like jolting awake in my own life and realizing the things that were out of alignment. Then I had a lot of anxiety that followed it, like real, panic. And so just having a psychiatrist walk that whole journey with me was really supportive, and leaning into, community and my friends and my partner at the time. It was important to have all the input.
yeah, I mean, I think about my journey to divorce and how that was lining up with a new awakening for me. And it's like my internal capacity was just getting like expanded every week, day, month, right? And so it's like I still have a physical body. And so while I'm like experiencing these things and I'm opening myself up to so much more, I still think there's like a rub of like what your nervous system can hold or handle. And so like I could see
Yeah.
medication just helping temper or turn the dial down enough so you can stay present with it.
Yeah.
Um, versus completely shutting it down. Like, how do I get rid of this? How do I get back so grounded in the 3D that I'm not still accessing this expansion that's happening?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's like the tricky balance, and needing a team and friends who still like validate your experience, who aren't like, I think you're going through psychosis and we need to shut this down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that's where like community is so important. If we're going to, you know, if we're going to like follow what's in our heart, making sure we have people around us who are on that journey with us and helping us, navigate those big downloads and that expansion is so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for our connection through all of the roller coaster of the past few years.
Me too. And I will just say, I feel like when Diane and I hang out now, we like travel into another world. Like it is, I'm just thinking about the last time I came to Tybee to see you and going to the beach. And Diane did this like beautiful ceremony for me to kind of mark that transition point for me. And it was just like everywhere. There was like, oh my gosh, I feel like we're in fairy lights and the moon was out and we swam in the water and like it was amazing. I was having an experience where I was questioning what my name should be, and I kept being like, "What do I want my last name to be? I can't land on anything." And my middle name is Nicole, and I don't love Amber Nicole. I feel like an '80s bimbo with it. That is like my name. And it's so funny because probably a year or two before, probably in the pandemic, Diane would send me mail addressed to Amber Nicole.
Mhm.
And it was just like a funny little synchronicity. And we were out. Diane was like, "Can I show you a piece of land that's really important to me?" And I was like, "Yeah." And so we got out and she was doing her thing. And I just wandered to this tree and I put my hand on it. And I look up and there is an AN
Mhm.
carved into this tree right where my hands were. And it, like, that is like the magic. And
Yeah.
so I say that because I find this solo, but when I am with you, it gets like amplified even more.
Mm. Oh, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the magic. And the another time that you visited Tybee, I was like, yeah, like let's go try to talk to the dolphins. And we took the boat out and they were like swimming all around us. That was so amazing.
There were so many dolphins. It was wild. And we weren't out that long and they were like swimming with us. It was magic.
Yeah, I think that might be the best dolphin experience I've ever had. And we had the intention of like, we want some dolphin magic. Let's go out and connect with the dolphins. And they were like, we're
And
here
they
for it.
showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. A part of my awakening, I'm thinking now as we're talking about this, was I kept hearing the phrase, the land has called you here.
Mm.
And so it really was connected to Tybee and what a magical place it is. And yeah, the dolphins and the sunsets and the marshes have been so healing and so important to me. And I didn't realize I thought I was a city girl. Like I specifically went to college in Atlanta because I wanted to be, in a big city. And once I was in Tybee and Savannah for a few months, I realized like, oh my gosh, the city life was really overwhelming me and overwhelming my nervous system. And being able to connect with nature has been such a huge part of my journey.
Yeah, again, I think like people, souls contracts, when they show up, the energy and vibration they bring, the land experiences, like all of it feels like when you listen to those nudges, the opportunity to deepen this expression of our truest self, right?
Mhm.
And like, land was such that for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
I'm thinking of another funny story between the two of us. So I was married for 25 years and I have two beautiful children. And I think this was probably more like around 2017. I was doing internal family systems therapy with my therapist. And in one of the sessions, I had one of my parts come forward and be like, I think you're gay. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrifying information that will like unpull all the threads that I've built of this life, pull them all apart. And so we were at a mellow mushroom for dinner, I'm pretty sure. And I was like, okay, so I want to tell you that this happened. And then I never want to mention it again. And do you remember that? Was that at mellow mushroom? I feel
I
like
feel
it
like
was.
it was, I feel like we were at Mellow Mushroom and then we went for a little walk after,
Yeah.
if I remember correct. But yes, we were at that Mellow Mushroom. Yes.
Which is like one of our things. We've been to
Yeah.
mellow mushroom a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of our spots.
Yes. Pizza and salad makes everything better.
Mhm.
Yeah, so then that became like I think that was a part of it was like I was living a life, I was not living a Pisces flowy life. I was like, you know, I had sort of made decisions that felt safe and that felt like what you should do and built a life and a career, based on some of those shoulds. And then when I woke up in the middle of that life, and I was really struggling, I had struggled for a long time with depression. And when I woke up in that life and started to get these whispers of like, this is not really who you are, that's really terrifying. um, and so the magic of moving to Tybee helped me overcome some of that resistance and that fear, and move into like saying to other people out loud, yes, I'm queer, and how do I want to get in more alignment with like my thread and my breadcrumbs of how I feel on the inside.
Yeah, I remember that conversation so vividly and just thinking, wow, you were so brave to
Mm.
say that, to name that. And again, how our paths go like this, while our experiences may have looked a little bit different, I was also going through my own, what the heck have I done? Like, I saw this story of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to live and who the partner you're supposed to pick, who they're supposed to be, and it all was crumbling.
Mm.
And I was struggling with, like, I'm trapped. I don't know how to get out of this. I have this family I've built, what I've been told, but like slowly feeling like I was dying.
Yeah.
And then for you to be showing me back like your courage in leaving that. And again, when we talk about like spaces, places, people that energetically um, expand you, I hope it's okay to share this. I'll just be vague. But the office that you invited me into was
Hmm.
shared with two other therapists. We were
Hmm.
all in it together.
Yeah.
And like all around pandemic time, right before, right after, each of us was moving through our own divorce.
Yeah.
And when I moved into that office, none of us were.
Hmm.
And so it was like, again, that space felt so sacred in unraveling something in all of us.
Yeah.
And that felt magic too.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, it really did. Like the conversations we would have over lunch in that office, and just it felt very like a very safe space, a very connected space there in that office for that period of time. Um, I think because of the pandemic and because I moved around that time was when we all left that office space, right? So that was about 4 years. I think not everybody was there the whole time, but yeah, that was so powerful and important to have that connection and sisterhood,
Mhm.
and to see how we're each finding our aligned paths that are taking us in very different directions. um yeah, it is amazing, those synchronicities and how we cross people's paths at just the right time. And that's the other thing, that maybe we can highlight, is just this trust. Like I think that a part of what I was doing before, when I was, when I had like a I had created, a family and a career that looked really good and had many beautiful elements to them, but they weren't exactly me. And it was a lack of trust, like I was clinging to things to feel safe instead of trusting that I can be me and always find inner safety, and trust that I can trust myself and I can trust the universe, that there's magic flowing towards me if I keep going. And we talk about that a lot, like our moments of like, oh my gosh, how much more am I going to have to keep going through?
Like, I took the leap,
Yeah.
okay? Like, a show
Mhm.
up, and honestly, the ground always shows up. Like, I feel like I'm always held. I would just like it to be tidier.
Yeah.
Right? Like tighten a bow and let me move on. Um, but that's not the agreement I signed up for.
Yep.
But I do think trust is such a big one, and it feels so scary when you are being given like the next step for you, like the thing that you know in your heart when you sit still and you're quiet, and the next step could completely blow up your life,
Yeah.
and you don't know how to catch yourself on the other side. Like there is no logical thing to put into place to make it work, you
Yeah.
know? And those things, when I talk about courage and being brave, it's like you have to be so brave to trust yourself when the nudging is saying, undo this,
Yeah.
speak up, challenge this, be seen, leave this, start this. It, like that trust is so important, but it is also a bit of like courage and just doing it too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and that's again where I think a lot about environment, like um the environments that I'm in, the feedback that I'm getting, like the support, it can make, such a big difference. And so thinking about how to like uproot myself and create some community that is aligned, that is helping me be brave,
Yeah.
helping me, follow my own path. Um and celebrating, like celebrating things that are I have this song that I sing to my clients, and I think we've talked about it, but it's you're really out there doing it, girl. And it's like the thing that I might sing that for is, something that nobody else would understand, but it's like they're following their path. I can't
Yeah.
think of an example right now, but like one example is I have had this long-standing relationship with diet soda that I really know is like not supportive for my energy. And also it's really a challenge for me to not reach for it when I'm feeling like off balance. Like I specifically notice like, oh, I'm feeling anxious. I want to have a Coke Zero. And so I have recently have been having tea, and I've been wanting to be a tea drinker for so long. And so it's like I'm like, woohoo, I'm doing it. I'm having 2 cups of tea a day. And it's like that's not the type of thing that, you're gonna post on your LinkedIn. But that's the kind of thing that like I want people to know me well enough that I could text like, hey, I've like finally strengthened my relationship with tea that I've really been wanting to, and just celebrating those like little wins.
Yeah, that community, that support of people knowing you so intimately, but also like seeing your magic, seeing where they know you can go, reflecting you back, and then celebrating the things that they know are a challenge. Like that has also been so helpful as both witnessing women follow their intuition and leaping and doing the things,
Mhm.
but also people reflecting me back, like my truest me, not
Mhm.
like version of me that goes out to soccer with my daughters, like the
Mhm.
me that like you have to earn a little bit to see it, but like when that is reflected back and celebrated and those people are cheering me on or being like you got this, like
Mhm.
I trust that so much more because I've let you like see me in this like unraveling too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This has been so fun. Thank you so much for doing this with
Oh,
me.
of course.
I really want to come back and tell the story of our shared timeline. Would you be open to doing that?
I would love that.
All right, because the other thing that's so powerful about that is like the first time I saw that was in a session I was doing with one of my beloved teachers, and we did a what's called QHHT, quantum healing hypnosis technique, and it took me to that other timeline. And I don't think I knew at the time that it was you in that timeline. And then I what had never happened to me before was I got to the end of it, or I got to a part of the story and then I couldn't see past it. And she was like trying all these different techniques, and I was like, nope, it's gone. I can't see past it. And then a separate time, I did a past life regression with you, and you went to the same timeline. And I was like, wait a minute, I know this timeline. And that's where we figured out that it was a shared one. And then it's played out for me a couple different times, like
Mhm.
during big moments, which is, what I love about tuning into other timelines is like they interact with this one and they have, lessons and meaning. And it's been such an important part of my healing journey. So that'll be a
I
fun
would
next conversation.
I would love to do that.
Okay.
Thank you so much for letting
Yeah.
me chat.
Yeah. Do you want to share where people can find you?
Yeah, so I have a therapy practice called Tended Therapy in Atlanta, Georgia, and then I host women's circles and women's groups. Specifically, my heart and soul is one called Main's Journey, and it is a 12-month journey that walks women through archetypes, but it's just a lens to like reach freedom, come back to their truest self, all while in community with other intuitive, sensitive women. So
Mhm.
that's maidensjourney.com, or you can find me on Instagram at Amber Martin Smith. And I am working on a book that I hope to launch sometime this year too.
Amazing. So we have so many more conversations we can have.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Amber.
You're welcome. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody. See you soon.